Conscious Podcast, episode 79, November 8th, 2021. I am by the Pacific Ocean at Stanley Park in Vancouver. Today's episode is a narration or reading of a manifesto that Robert Janes brought to my attention. That was developed by the Cultural Heritage Network and written for COP26, which is happening right now in Glasgow, Scotland. And so it's timely for arts and cultural workers to be aware and become familiar with this manifesto, because it, I think, is an important call and provides inspiration, I think. So I won't tell you any more about it right now. I'm going to read it, and then I'll talk a bit more about it after. I'll start with the introduction. This manifesto provides key messages on culture and climate change aimed at the 2021 United Nations Climate Conference, COP26, and beyond. It seeks to activate those involved in arts, culture, and heritage to take climate action through communication and engagement, inspiring and assisting their constituents, members, and audiences to increase ambition, to change our own behaviours, and to engage with climate action policy development at local and national government and intergovernmental levels. Simultaneously, in order to meet the urgency of the climate emergency, it strives to inspire and encourage greater synergistic collaboration on climate action with other sectors and partners that have not traditionally engaged with cultural actors. We invite civil society, government at all levels, Indigenous Peoples organizations, cultural organizations and institutions, businesses, universities, and research organizations and other stakeholders to join us in signing on to this manifesto, signaling our shared ambition to create just, thriving, and resilient communities today and into the future. So that's the introduction, and now I'll read the manifesto in its entirety. Accelerating climate action through the power of arts, culture, and heritage. A manifesto on keeping 1.5 degrees Celsius alive at COP26. We, the undersigned, declare that people, their cultures, and the natural and cultural heritage of the Earth are profoundly at risk from human-caused climate change and the climate inaction that is deepening the unfolding climate crisis, even while we reaffirm the immense power of arts, culture, and heritage to inspire climate action and to enable a just transition to low-carbon, climate-resilient future. Climate change is already impacting people and planet with long-lasting and irreversible effects. Avoiding the worst of these requires limiting global temperature to increase to 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial levels. Yet the world is failing to meet even the Paris Agreement's 2 degrees at temperature goal, with current greenhouse gas emission concentrations now the highest ever recorded. The present COVID-19 pandemic and the suffering it has caused have made the response to climate change even more difficult, while also revealing essential lessons, including the imperative of heeding science, the consequences of separation between humans and nature, the importance of centering the needs of the most vulnerable, and the fact that rapid and far-reaching social and economic change is possible when society, working together, wills it. Building back better, tackling the climate and biodiversity crisis, and achieving sustainable development requires ambitious, transformative action at scale, including deep GHG emissions reductions in all sectors, a wide portfolio of mitigation and adaptation options, and a significant upscaling of investments in those options. Centering equity and justice should be at the heart of all actions so that widening economic and health disparities can be reversed. Culture and the arts reflect and influence consumption patterns, mediating our awareness of nature and the planet and our relationship to the environment. Culture anchors people to places and to each other. It can create cohesion in ways that enable community building and collective action. Artists and cultural voices drive public awareness and action. Their work can be a powerful tool for climate mobilization. Through public accessibility and trust, cultural institutions like museums and libraries can provide platforms for listening to communities and hubs of multicultural and intergenerational exchange, capacity building, and knowledge sharing. Integrating natural and cultural values highlights linkages between the ecological and social functions of landscapes in ways that promote lifestyles in harmony with nature. The historic environment embodies past carbon investments, now stewarded by the owners and users of landscapes and buildings. Cultural heritage holds people's stories and the knowledge of local communities, what the Paris Agreement calls endogenous technologies. The archaeological record illustrates the causes of and adaptation to past changes. Yet, the talents of many arts, culture, and heritage actors, operators, and advocates have still not been mobilized for climate action. They include artists, anthropologists, archaeologists, architects, landscape architects, administrators, archivists, craftspersons, conservators, curators, engineers, geographers, historians, librarians, musicians, museologists, writers, performers, urban planners, and site managers, as well as scientists, researchers, teachers and scholars, and carriers of Indigenous knowledge whose unique insights have not yet been adequately applied to climate change or accounted for in climate science. We represent institutions and organizations committed to shifting this paradigm and unlocking the potential of arts, culture, and heritage to achieve the ambitions of the Paris Agreement. We recognize this must include transformation within the cultural sector too, embracing sustainable practices and stewardship, lifting up the voices of underserved communities and prioritizing solidarity with frontline communities, as well as preserving, recording, and making culture and heritage available in inclusive ways, including through traditional and innovative artistic forms, as well as new technologies. This paradigm and mindset shift also requires the cultural dimensions of climate action be prioritized in science, policy, and planning and fiscal frameworks for climate mitigation and adaptation, disaster risk reduction, and in planning for losses and damages. The mainstreaming of cultural considerations must be done at all scales, local, regional, national, and international, and across all sectors, from energy to buildings, from mobility to agriculture. We recognize the profound connection between cultural rights, cultural survival, and climate action. We also consider this manifesto to be a contribution to human-centered, rights-based approaches that places culture as an explicit and operational dimension of development and provides cultural actors, civil society, and institutions a seat at the table required to make it happen. It is time to act. We must both close the emissions and ambition gaps. To achieve a 1.5 Celsius world, more attention must be paid to the cultural dimensions of lifestyles and livelihoods, to the public understanding of climate impacts, the social acceptance of systems changes, to gender-responsive and diverse approaches, and to the well springs of climate ambition. In short, we must transcend the divides between culture and science, people and policy, memory, and evolving practice. COP26 must be a turning point for multi-level action to realize the potential of culture to effectively combat the climate crisis. It is our shared responsibility to secure the cultural inheritance and cultural rights of current and future generations, to safeguard a healthy, prosperous, and resilient planet, and to deliver the emissions reductions upon which these outcomes hinge. In all this work, count on us. Count culture in. So thanks for listening to that manifesto. I apologize for my reading, but it's also heartfelt and just in the moment. So I encourage you to, of course, read the manifesto and to sign it. So thanks to Bob Janes, who brought this manifesto to my attention, to the co-authors, and to all those who are working in the arts and cultural sector on the climate emergency. Everything you do at COP and beyond. I think this manifesto is a reflection of not only the urgency, but the great untapped potential of the arts and cultural sector in this crisis. J'ai aussi fait une version française de la lecture de ce manifeste qui est par l'émission 80, la prochaine émission du balado. Et the manifesto is also available in Spanish and other languages at the COP at cultureatcop.com website, and all these links are in the episode notes of this episode. So I will leave it at that, because it's getting a bit cold here and the sound is gorgeous. And I thank you for listening, and I hope you will engage in this invitation to manifest yourselves and your communities with art and culture.